Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily with Ray Flowers, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to use the promo code FSD20 for a 20% discount on the products over at fantasyguru.com. Hey there, everybody. Ray Flowers of fantasyguru.com. How you doing today? We're looking at the tech. Come on, tech, kick in. Let's go. We got things to do here. Let's go, tech. You're all here. You're seeing me. I hope you're hearing me as well. But we do have an issue on social media. Come on, guys. Come on. Let's see what we got here. I'm trying to get this all going up, and you know how this goes, as we talked about before. On occasion, we have a tech issue, and it's not a big deal. But because I'm the only person here, I'm the one trying to figure it all out. Well, at least we're on Facebook. You can always find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fantasyguru. HQ. We're live there. We're live at YouTube, youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. We're supposed to be live on Twitter X. That's the problem that I'm running into right now. But we're up and running, as you can see here. Again, I'm Ray Flowers. We're here Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Fantasy Sports Daily. Type it into your podcast network, Fantasy Sports Daily. Go to the website, click on the tab Elite Plus at the top in the toolbar. You can find us there, and then there's other sources as well. Ask those questions. You can do that on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll address those at the end of the show. Just some housekeeping quickly before we dive into today's show. Starting tomorrow, we talked about this. We're going to have guys on, and by I mean guys, I mean our three amigos. Armando Marsaul is coming on Wednesdays. Tyler Beaker's coming on Thursdays. Russell Clay is coming on Fridays. So all three of those guys moving forward are going to be on every week. Wednesdays, Armando. Thursdays, Tyler. Fridays, Russell. They're all going to come on at 11:30 Eastern Time. We're going to have them stop by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to talk about 20 minutes of football. And that starts tomorrow. So don't worry. We're still doing the first 30 minutes of the show baseball. We'll still end the show with baseball as well. But we'll have those guys in. It's time to start talking some football here. It's about the month of June. I know Jeff Mann's on the Elite Sports Show Monday through Friday. He's on from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. He talks other sports too. I mean, 2/3, 3/4 football at this point. But let's give you some of the taste of that here too. What the heck, right? So yeah, we're good to go. We're rocking and rolling. Let me check one thing out. Did I click the wrong thing this morning? Maybe that's the problem. Did I click it from Jeff Mann's? Is Jeff Mann streaming the show? Jeff Mann's is streaming the show. Oh, that's the problem. It was not a tech issue. It was a Ray Flowers issue. Yeah, and that happens at times. So apologies to Jeff Mann's. I'll erase that after the fact. But now you know why the tech wasn't working. It's funny. We have all the crew is in the same spot with StreamYard, by the way. Shout out to StreamYard. I should do that. A really nice product for those people looking to stream things live here. They collate everything, put it all together, and I clicked on the wrong button this morning. That happens in the morning. I apologize, Jeff Mann's. Okay, what are we talking about today? Here's what we're talking about today with the new and improved shot of my face being really big. I shaved last night. What do we think? Shorter? Longer? I don't know. I shave. I've grown the big beard. You've all seen it. The green beard, the red, white, and blue beard, the orange beard, right? The Santa beard, the COVID beard. I had a big ass COVID beard. Make sure you get a photo of that sometime. But yeah, I like it trimmed down here. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, let's stop talking about me. What are we going to talk about today? We got a lot of things to talk about. We got mostly positive. There's always negative. It's not mostly positive, but we got some positive. Paul Goldschmidt's finally hitting. Here we go. What are the Nationals doing? Is Joey Meneses going to be the odd man out with the return of Lane Thomas? Adam Duvall, I talked yesterday and I mentioned quickly, Jared Kelenic, I think, was the guy that was going to increase in value with the Braves, the injury to Ronald Acuna. I skipped over Duvall, so let's talk about him today. Michael Busch is struggling. Does Patrick Wisdom start to take his playing time? Vidal Brujan, a guy that we talked about previously. The Marlins aren't very good. For some reason, they aren't playing him every day. It's a very odd situation. We'll discuss that. Sean Bouchard was called up with the injury to Beck for the Rockies. Masyn Winn batting leadoff. Masyn Winn doing some really historically impressive things. We'll talk about him. Tyler Freeman. A lot of people, David Fry has been the one everyone's talking about with the Guardians, but what about Tyler Freeman? Hit on him. Robert Gasser, who I had a question about this morning in Discord. We'll talk about him in depth. Cole Irvin, Blake Snell. Nick Lodolo. And then who's the best closer in baseball? If you're watching this right now, you can see who the name is listed there last. If you're not, it's a tease. We'll talk about him at the end of the performance section. In the injury section, we finally got Austin Riley back. Tyler O'Neill's still not out there. LaMonte Wade's not looking great with LaMonte Wade. It's not good with Jorge Polanco. An update on Stephen Kwan, improving there. Cristian, Javier, and Gavin Williams. improving. So that's kind of what we're doing today. Don't forget to go to fantasyguru.com. Use that promo code FSD20 for the discounts over there. By the way, I see Angelo over here, so I'll just hit on it real quickly before we get in. Good riddance, Angel Hernandez. Since his last game was May 9th, sounds like it was strongly suggested retirement, not a personal choice alone. Yeah, I don't, it was, and we talked about this on the Elite Sports Game Time show, which is when this news broke last night. That's 8 to 10 Eastern, Monday through Thursday. Myself and Justin Fensterman do that show. We talked about it, and I basically said, look, if you're bad at your job, there should be repercussions. I put a lot of effort and energy into my work. I work a lot. I think I create a good product, and I've been compensated well for it over the years. If I wasn't doing well, my bosses would tell me. I would know personally, and I would not feel good about it, but I wouldn't, I would be told. In sports, you don't perform, you get benched, you get traded, you get demoted, right? Where is that for a referee? All the sports, I'll say it this way. Reffing or umpiring a sport is very difficult. 99-mile-an-hour fastballs, 91-mile-an-hour sliders, 89-mile-an-hour splitters. Like, these are hard things to call balls and strikes with. Having these massive 250-pound men running 4.40s on the football field, running into each other. The sideline, was their toe on the sideline? Was it off? Extremely hard. We see replays in football. I watch every Sunday, and I'll watch a replay 8 times, and I'm still not really sure. Was it a fumble or not? Like, it's umpiring and reffing is very tough in pro sports. But you still got to be decent at it. And as I shared last night on the show, my dad used to umpire baseball, and he said, look, my goal is to do the game and have no one remember that I did the game. Right? I'm not the story. No one should recognize me. No one should know my face. I should just, call the right calls throughout the game. And when it's over, we all just go home and have a beer, right? Too many of the baseball umpires, they make it about themselves. Angel Hernandez being one of them. And there should be more. These umpires should be held to account more than I think they have been. And that's why we talked about automated strike ball system last week. It's why they're starting to use it in the minors. It's why it's a thing now. Because Major League Baseball, I'm sure, it's not like Rob Manfred's not watching video, right? Or people in the front office, the commissioner's office aren't looking at video and saying, boy, that was a missed call, that was a missed call, that was a missed call. It's not like they don't know that. So, yeah, Angel Hernandez is gone. And I think, Angelo, your sentiment of good riddance is shared by most. All right, let's get into this. Paul Goldschmidt, finally. Now, we can't take a victory lap after 2 weeks, after 8 weeks of absolute terrible work. But he did hit his 3rd home run yesterday in 2 days, which is excellent news because it's not just about the home run. It's about squaring it up, right? It's about hitting the ball well. You look at Goldschmidt, and it was a 94-mile-an-hour home run. So it's like, yeah, okay. It's not even technically a hard hit ball. It has to be 95. So let's not do cartwheels. But I will say this, the last 2 weeks, let's pull back from the last 2 games. Last 2 weeks, he's stolen 2 bases, start to run a little bit. That's nice. We'll take the 12-14 steals, right? Let's hope he gets there. Said 4 home runs in 12 games. He's batting 300 with a 960 OPS. Now, the strikes are still there, strikeouts are still there. And again, there's a long way to go. His overall numbers are putrid. But the last 2 weeks, that's a usable guy. And not just a usable guy, that's a very productive guy. And so let's hope that Paul Goldschmidt, who has all this history, let's hope that Paul Goldschmidt, who went 25, 80, 80 last year with 11 steals, let's hope he gets to be that guy again. And I've said all along, I've always felt it reasonable to suggest he would find his swing at some point and be the guy he was last year moving forward. Now, does that mean he goes 25, 80, 80 again? I mean, he's dug himself a big hole here, right? He has a ripping 2 weeks. He could still get there. So Paul Goldschmidt finally starting to kick things into gear a little bit. It's taken far too long, and it's a very small sample size, so let's not get overly excited, but I am very heartened by it. Joey Meneses was not in the starting lineup yesterday for the Nationals with the return of Lane Thomas, and we've talked a lot about this, and this is one of the things I always discuss with all of you at Discord over at fantasyguru.com. We talk about here on the show too. It's that, you have to understand. I had a question this morning. One of the guys or gals, I assume it was a guy. If it wasn't, excuse me, was talking about how his buddies or her buddies, their buddies, let's say that, their buddies in Philadelphia were pissed off that Taijuan Walker came back and went into the rotation and Spencer Turnbull was sent to the bullpen. And the comment was like, isn't that kind of the right thing to have done? And I said, yeah, it was the right thing to do. Taijuan Walker's getting paid $18 million to start. Taijuan Walker can't come in relief. It's not going to work, right? Spencer Turnbull can start. He can relieve. He can be a long guy. He can be a short guy. It's a better fit. Not to mention the fact that Turnbull's been injured, that he's hopped around organizations, that he was pitching way over his head. You have to understand who players are. With the Nationals, everyone is super excited about Dylan Cruz and James Wood, as they absolutely should be. Without question, they absolutely should be. And it could be in the second half this year, we see one or both of them starring on a baseball field. But they got a lot of guys. So we're trying to figure out, when Lane Thomas was activated off the injured list yesterday, what does this mean for the team moving forward? How are they going to, divvy out the playing time, because they now have too many guys? Well, first of all, they DFA'd Victor Robles. And so it'll be very interesting to see where Victor Robles ends up, because Victor Robles is absolutely, without question, worth someone taking a chance on. What is Robles? Is he 27 years old? How old is he? Let's pull it up here. And Robles was one of my guys, and people really have forgotten this over the years, and I understand, because Victor Robles has really not done much after that hot start to his career. But this is not a mistake. This is an actual fact. Go look at scouting reports from, 2018 or 2017. A lot of scouts had Victor Robles ahead of Juan Soto. It's true. It's true. And Victor Robles, in his first full season of 2019, had 17 home runs, stole 28 bases, and scored 86 times. He was really effective. Then injuries started to hit. The wet noodle bat started to show itself. He didn't make adjustments. Okay. So his career is absolutely stalled out, but he's 27 years old. Someone's going to take a chance on him, and he'll end up somewhere else. And there's a chance that Victor Robles could be starting for somebody soon. And again, he's almost had a season of 2030 when he was very young. It's very reasonable to think wherever he ends up, he plays on a consistent basis and at least steals at a 25 base pace, right? So something to think about. But what does this leave the Nationals? Well, with Robles down, it's like, well, okay, well then everything's fine. Well, Joey Meneses was not in the starting lineup yesterday. So what is this going to do? Because what they have is they've got Jesse Winker, they've got Eddie Rosario, they've got Lane Thomas. Like, again, things start to get tight here. Meneses hasn't done a lot to force the Nationals to keep him in the lineup either, so that's on him partly too. But that's a situation to look at, because the Nationals don't have any real bangers, right? Lane Thomas could be. He was last year, but I don't think the bat we saw last year is exactly what we're going to see this year. But again, he ran 11 steals to start the season before his knee injury. They got a lot of guys, that could be okay in spurts, but probably aren't guys they really need to have in the lineup every day the rest of the way. So we'll keep an eye on how that goes. But Meneses was the odd man out here at the start, and we'll see how that plays out. To Adam Duvall. Adam Duvall hit a home run on Monday. I got a question about Duvall in Discord. I actually got multiple questions about him. So on Twitter X at the Ray Flowers as well, I believe. Who is Duvall? We talked about him last night on the Elite Sports Show, again, 8 to 12, Monday through Friday, myself and Justin Fensterman. There it is. There are 3 years in Adam Duvall's career where he's had 500 at-bats. In all 3 of those seasons where he's had 500 at-bats, he's had 30 home runs and 99 RBIs. It's pretty damn good. Last year, he had 21 home runs and 320 at-bats with 58 RBIs. That's another 30-90 pace over 500 at-bats, right? So we kind of know who he is. He's 35. He really doesn't have to play every day, but the Braves are going to be forced basically to play him every day now because of the injury to Acuna. The Braves could always make a trade. That could happen, and that could put Duvall back in a platoon situation. But for now, he's basically going to play every day. Who is Adam Duvall? He's a guy that's going to strike out a ton. He's going to hit home runs. Early on this season, in 99 plate appearances, he's got a special for him, 22% strikeout rate. Can't expect that to continue. That's just, again, we have a career of him being, high 20s, low 30s. He's been over 31% each of the last 3 years. His batted ball data, there's nothing here that's really any different than the norm. Let's look at his pull rate. Everything's basically the same except for the strikeout rate. If he holds on to the strikeout rate, which I'm kind of disinclined to think in his 11th season at 35 years old, that's going to happen because that's not what happens. But really, he's going to go out there and he's going to hit 220 and hit home runs. If you need that and he's still on your waiver wire, you can make a move. I was talking to someone this morning, I think it was Chaka, about, maybe I was wrong, about head-to-head. And it's like, Duvall's a rough head-to-head guy because he's going to strike out. He's going to be uneven. There's going to be periods of lack of production. He's not a big doubles guy. He's not a big stolen base guy, of course. His on-base percentage is last time his on-base percentage was league average was never. So he's just not a good head-to-head option, points league guy, really. But there are spurts of time where he's fantastic. He's going to get a chance to play most days to Braves. I just wanted to bring him up because I did not do that yesterday. That was my mistake. Michael Busch wasn't in the lineup on Monday, and we talked about Busch, and I've written about him recently over at fantasyguru.com. There's an article up right now, a Ramblings piece. So check that out, looking at mostly hitting, but there's pitchers in there too, kind of giving a state of the union for a bunch of players. One guy not in that article, but one guy that I have discussed previously is Michael Busch. And, we talked about here on the show the fact that Busch got ahead of himself. At least we got ahead of ourselves with Michael Busch is a better way to put it. His May has been terrible. And, he's hitting 188. He's got a home run the whole month. He's got a 39% strikeout rate. And his issue is that he doesn't hit lefties anyway. So he's just in there against righties. So that's, it's easy to platoon him, right? But with the way he's hitting, it's not even easy to play him because they've got Patrick Wisdom. Patrick Wisdom may hit 188 and he may strike out 39% of the time. Like that's within the realm with Patrick Wisdom. But that one home run is going to be 5. And it could be 9, right? Patrick Wisdom is going to hit home runs. And so, it's Busch is in trouble now. If we're being honest, he's in trouble because there is a ready-made veteran player with a similar skill set to what he is showing right now, who's waiting in the wings. And, he hasn't done anything. Wisdom hasn't done anything to force the hand of the Cubs. Totally fair. But he's hit 20 plus home runs for the Cubs with 60 RBIs in 2 of the last 3 years. He's hit 20 home runs each of the last 3 years for the Cubs. And last year, he had 268 plate appearances. Give him the 500 plate appearances we were talking about with Duvall. He would have hit 40 home runs with 90 RBIs. That's what his pace was last year. So he's a very Adam Duvall-like player. I think right now he's a better Michael Busch player. So if you have Michael Busch, you need to be making other plans quickly. And I'm not going to say in a mixed league, go add Patrick Wisdom. But if you're in an NL league and somehow he's not on a roster, change that because there's playing time coming here. And if he starts out hot, hits a couple home runs, hits the ball hard as he always does, maybe get some more playing time. Vidal Brujan, he's been out of the lineup 5 times in 6 games. And I just, for the life of me, I don't get this. Otto Lopez is now the second baseman. Tim Anderson's the shortstop, even though Tim Anderson, sorry, Tim, but Tim has forgotten how to hit. And I've always marveled, and go back and look at articles I wrote 5 or 6 years ago. I've always marveled at the fact that Tim Anderson, you can see it with your eyes, right? Like you watch him play and you're like, okay, I get it. When you look at the data, it's always suggested that Tim Anderson's living that line of, Javier Baez, right? He's right on that edge of, this could go horribly wrong. Went horribly wrong for Anderson last year, and nothing looks like it's changed this year. But he's a veteran. He's an energetic presence. He's in the lineup over Brujan. So, I have Brujan. I picked him up in a 15-team mixed league. We talked about it here on the show, multi-position eligibility. Hope he'd run a little bit. Now, he did not do anything great with the bat. No doubt about that. But I don't understand. You're the Marlins. You need to establish youngsters that are inexpensive that can play for you every day. No, let's let Tim Anderson do it. Okay. So anyway, Brujan's not been in the lineup. I dropped him this weekend because he's just not playing. So he's an NL only play at the moment with multi-position flexibility. There's always a chance that the expectations we had on this show and that scouts have had for Brujan forever are finally able to come to fruition. But the Marlins got to play him, and right now they're just not. It's disappointing. Sean Bouchard was called up by the Rockies because of the injury to Beck. By the way, Brenton Doyle can't hit on the road, but he's fantastic at home, and he's stealing bases and power. Brenton Doyle's having a sneaky good season. The hope was that Jordan Beck would be a similar type of player. Obviously, with his injury, he's going to be out, potentially a couple of months. Sean Bouchard was called up. Fractured wrist, by the way, for Beck. Bouchard was called up, and, his performance will greatly be benefited or boosted, I guess is a better way to say it, by Coors Field, of course. And you look at Bouchard, he's 28 years old at this point. He was a 9th-round draft pick back in 2017. He should have arrived by now. He really hasn't. Last year, though, in limited work, he was solid. You look at his career numbers. He does have an 889 OPS in 210 plate appearances. Now, it's accompanied by a near 30% strikeout rate. It's also accompanied by 370 batting average of balls in play, so there's some wonkiness there. As an example, his expected batting average is 273. His expected batting average last year was 239 when he hit 316. But there's skills here. And you look at his production at the minor league level, Bouchard, and you see a fella who'd played 18 games at AAA this year. We had 3 home runs, had driven in a run a game, was hitting 333, and had a 439 on base percentage. So we talked about him yesterday. Just wanted to hit on him a little bit more detail. He was added in one of the leagues. I think it was for like $4. Someone just said, I'll take a shot here. Bouchard might be somebody, if you're looking for the sneaky ad, that's a sneaky ad. Young guy, some holes in his game, all that, but it's not like Chris Bryant is Mr. Health in the outfield. So there's a legitimate chance that even if Bouchard were to struggle, they might be forced to play him because Beck is out now. If Bryant gets hurt, even if Bryant's in the lineup, they probably want to DH him at this point, which opens up a spot in the outfield potentially every day for Bouchard. So again, we could be talking about him. This could be a guy that 2 weeks from now we're like, man, you should have picked up Bouchard that day Ray talked about him. Could also be a guy 2 weeks from now who's hitting 190 with a 31% strikeout rate. And it's like, why the hell did I listen to Ray and pick him up? So we were kind of in that zone with him. Now, Masyn Winn was the leadoff hitter again yesterday against the lefty for the Cardinals. And, the Cardinals have done this, right? They've kind of bounced him around the lineup a little bit. Let's pull that up as we're talking here. Masyn Winn is a wondrous defensive player. I've kind of jokingly said, as others have as well, that he's Sean Dunston-like because his arm is phenomenal. And he's obviously a shortstop. He's hit the last 4 games, 1-8-8-1. So he's bouncing around. It doesn't seem like the Cardinals are set on him as their leadoff guy unless it's a lefty out there. But the lefty out there, maybe they put him there long-term because Brendan Donovan hasn't got it done. Tommy Edman hasn't even played this year. Like the Cardinals need offense, right? So 2 games in a row, lefty they faced, he's hit leadoff. Something to think about with Masyn Winn. Now, he also is doing some really good things in terms of what he's doing with the bat. His 16-game hitting streak is the 4th longest by a Cardinals rookie ever. Now, the number 1 mark was by Joe McEwing. Didn't really have a distinguished career, but hung around for a while. Number 2 was Jordan Walker last year, and Jordan Walker's in the minors, right? He was in the minors last year at a point, too. Number 3 is Albert Pujols. Okay, so yeah, there's that. But Masyn Winn, and I find myself doing this frequently when I write the cash game breakdown over at fantasyguru.com for the DFS slate, and I will be doing that later today. By the way, as you can see there on the screen, if you buy the baseball product for any of the baseball products, DFS or wagering, you get the other sports tossed in for free. We still have that going right now. MLB then gets you the rest of NBA, the rest of the NHL, PGA, MMA, soccer, and racing. So you might want to check that out. And again, whether you're having success in seasonal baseball or whether you're not, you can sign up right now and we'll help you have success at DFS. Okay. But I frequently find myself pointing out, like, this guy's actually doing much better than anyone's talking about. Does anyone realize this guy's got a 12-game hitting streak, right? Masyn Winn's got a 16-game hitting streak. He's batting 365. He's got a 416 WOBA. Now, he's hit 2 home runs and 2 steals, which is not sexy. But if he does that every 16 games, that puts him on a 2020 full season pace. So that's damn good. It's really nice to see his strikeout rate of 9% during this run. That's about half of where he's at for the season. So he's done a very good job blocking things in. Again, he's very attractive if he's batting leadoff. A little bit of power, a little bit more speed. I would anticipate him being more valuable in the fantasy space for the speed component versus the power component at this point of his career. I don't think he's a 300 hitter. I don't think he's a 350 on base percentage guy. I would think rest of the way it'd be much safer to set your expectations basically at a league average level for both those marks, which, league average rest of the way stealing 15 bases. Now, if he's doing that hitting 8th, okay. If he's doing that hitting 1st, he's not appreciably different than what Tommy Edman has been. And by that, I mean, if he's hitting leadoff, he could do what we just suggest here and still score 85, 90 runs. So that is something to think about. The spot in the order is very important for Masyn Winn and his outlook moving forward. Tyler Freeman went 3 for 5 yesterday, and that continues a really nice run. Now, the question becomes is where does Freeman sit once Kwan returns? Because Kwan comes back. Kwan goes back into the leadoff spot. That's no question about that. You see Stephen Kwan there. We'll talk about him a little bit. Let's just talk about him now. He's going to be back probably by the end of the week. So when that happens, Freeman no longer hits leadoff, of course. And there's questions about where he's going to be in the lineup. Now, if he's not hitting 1st, he's probably hitting 8th, which, again, we were just talking about Masyn Winn. That's a huge negative for Freeman. That really tanks his value because he's not a steal guy. He can run a little bit. He can steal 20 bases, let's say that. He's not a burner. He's certainly not a power hitter. He's got a 31 runs scored in 189 plate appearances, which is extremely good, right? That's a 90 run pace. That's not going to happen hitting at the bottom of the order. He is and has been effective, though. You look at his since the 13th of May, he's hitting 330 with the 430 on base percentage. And one of the main reasons for that is he's not striking out. He's almost got a 1-to-1 walk to strikeout ratio. There's enough going on here, and there's been enough success here with Freeman that it's very likely that the Guardians will try to keep him in the lineup on a consistent basis. The problem for him is his work against lefties has been terrible. I mean, he's got a 691 OPS, which is almost as high as his work against righties, but he's hitting 196. And I think that's the deal with Freeman. He's one of these players that there's a good hit tool here, but there's nothing to get excited about. It's like, wow, right? It's like, all right, this guy's going to hit 270 and steal 22 bases. It's going to be Tommy Edman-like offensively. Like, if he does that, okay, right? We can live with that. Now, for a team like the Guardians, that works, right? Because they're not a team that's full of power. They're not a team that's expecting to have up and down the lineup guys hitting 25 home runs. So they really can use that. And when you have success, when you put together good at bats, as well as having the success, the team will find a way to play you. Now, the real question is, how do they make this all work? Because if you look at David Fry, he has to play right now, which is the real issue for Freeman, is that Fry has to be in the lineup. Ray, put him at DH. Well, you could put him at DH, leave at first base Naylor. What do you do with Kyle Manzardo? Kyle Manzardo is really the key here. There is a scenario where Manzardo is demoted when Kwan returns, because they're not going to want to keep Manzardo around if he's just going to be a pinch hitter. Manzardo has a 30% strikeout rate in his 53 plate appearances, which is way higher. That's like double what he does in the minors. Way higher than was expected. I don't think that's long-term who he is, but right now it's where he's at. You look at the batted ball data, it's not overly impressive, right? So I think Manzardo is the key, and whatever the organization basically says or does with Manzardo probably keys where we're at with Tyler Freeman short term. Again, some speed, not going to kill you in batting average, likely hit at the bottom of the order, not overly exciting, but in a really nice groove here the last couple of weeks, Tyler Freeman. All right, let's talk about some pitchers. Robert Gasser has, and again, we have seen this profile-ish many times. We see it constantly here at the big league level. These youngsters that come up and they're more pitcher than thrower, which is great because they can have that success initially, but eventually it's rare to have long-term success at the major league level without the stuff, right? It's difficult because teams they see you, they get your pitches, they find your release point. You're throwing 89 miles an hour. It's like, well, okay. Robert Gasser's in that zone, and I shorted him a couple miles an hour. He throws 92, 93. But the fact is, everyone looked at his minor league strikeout numbers and said, don't expect that at the big league level. We haven't seen that at the big league level. And in fact, he's got a strikeout rate of 14%, which is horrible. It's just awful. And someone asked about him in Discord this morning, and I said, look, he's basically hoping to be Miles Mikolas. Does that excite you? Now, his swinging strike rate is 11%. His CSW is almost 31%. So it's very reasonable to suggest that his 5.1 strikeouts per 9 becomes 7.1. Totally fine with that. 7.1 strikeouts per 9. Again, it's Miles Mikolas. 47% ground ball rate. That needs to tick up 10% to be Marcus Stroman. Otherwise, it's Kyle Gibson. Not to say, again, that this can't be successful. It can be. But when you're not missing bats, and to date he's not missing bats, it's just tough because you're so dependent upon batting average of balls in play. You're so dependent upon the positioning of your defense. It's tough. He also has one walk in 23 innings, which, again, he is known as a control guy. So it's not surprising he's controlling the strike zone and limiting the walks. But one walk in 23, yeah. So in the case of Gasser, he's in that rotation because of injury, especially with Joe Ross. They need him. He's been extremely effective today, but I would just caution everyone to be reasonable with their expectations. As I noted this morning, his xFIP and his Sierra are 4 basically, and his ERA right now is 2. So those numbers are saying, even though he's had that success on the surface, if we look behind things, and I think he's basically a league average whip. He's a league average ERA and below league average strikeout guy. Again, I think he's a combination of Miles Mikolas, Kyle Gibson, that kind of a guy. And those guys have periods of time where they're very useful. But Gasser's not someone that anyone should have on the roster and be saying to themselves, this guy's making 18 starts for me the rest of the way. I don't think that's a winning move. Cole Irvin, Yes. Cole Irvin, we talked about yesterday, who I added in Tout Wars, who is now back in the rotation, looks like full-time because of the injury to Means. 5 shutout innings against the Red Sox. Very strong outing there. For those of you that picked him up for the two-step effort, you got a good first one from him. He only went 5 innings, but maybe that's because, he made a couple outings out of the bullpen, and they just wanted to make sure he was okay. Next time out against the Rays. And this is, he's not a strikeout guy, much like Gasser. He's not a guy that misses a tremendous amount of bats, but he's someone that, he's got a 2.80 ERA and a 1.1 whip. And we were laughing about this the other day. Phil Backert and I were looking at this, and it was something like, if you look at the ERAs over the last, since mid-season last year or something like that, I'm trying to remember what it was. Cole Irvin's like, 7th in baseball in ERA. Like, it's something ridiculous. Let's pull that up as we're doing this. See if I can approximate the numbers there as we're talking. Bottom line is Cole Irvin is a very solid pitcher. He's going to get tremendous run support, and it looks like he's got a role in the rotation. If you go back and you look at his last 90 innings, going back to the All-Star game of last year, he's got a 3.09 ERA and a 1.11 whip. He's also got a 3.8 strikeout to walk ratio. Very effective. So good first outing this week. Let's hope the second outing is also solid. I would anticipate him, again, getting an opportunity to make some starts here. And I think that he's an addition right now, even though he doesn't miss bats as much as we'd like to see. Blake Snell misses tons of bats. And I kind of hate to do this, but I kind of don't at the same time, because I'm a Giants fan, been my whole life. Told the story, you all know that. I didn't like the contract the Giants gave him. I was fine giving a 2-year contract to Blake Snell, but I really disliked, as I voiced significant opposition to, the opt-out, because all I knew, if Blake Snell pitches well, he's gone next year. If he pitches like butt, he's going to come back next year, and he's coming back next year to the Giants. Like that. He signed late. He didn't get the money he wanted. I don't know. He showed up and said, I need time to work up to my pitch count. I don't know. Then he was beat up physically. All I know is this. He has stunk, and I've said it, and I will repeat it until it changes. He has now stolen money from the Giants for 2 months. It's been terrible. Last night, he was only 3 runs allowed, but he only went 4 innings. He also gave up 4 runs. He had 7 strikeouts, whoopee-doo. His ERA is now 10.4. 5 starts and his ERA is 10.4. The Giants are paying $30 million to get a level of performance they could have gotten from any AAA pitcher they called up. Mason Black. Any AAA pitcher. He's been awful. And, he's facing the Yankees this weekend. So what's likely to happen is we'll go to Yankees. He'll go face the Yankees in San Francisco. Face the Yankees on Sunday, and he'll throw 6 innings with 10 strikeouts and shut him out, right? That's what's going to happen, because that's what makes sense. Don't quote me on that. I don't expect that to happen. But he needs to go. He needs to go now. And the problem is, as we have said repeatedly, this is the Blake Snell experience. He hasn't even gone 5 innings in any of his starts yet. It's like, when he's on, he dominates. When he's off, he's a mess. And he has been decidedly off to date for the Giants. Who is the best closer in baseball? Is it Robert Suarez? And, we can make all these debates. I think a lot of people will probably say Clase or Hader, right? Clase was drafted to be that guy. Hader was drafted to be that guy. Depending upon when you drafted, we didn't even know necessarily who the Padres' 9th inning guy was going to be. They made 2 signings from guys across the sea. We know Suarez was in the mix, but was he one of 3 guys? Was he one of 2 guys? And so you took Robert Suarez in the 18th round or the 24th round, depending upon when your draft was held. And now he's got 16 saves. This has been the stuff of legend. Might be exaggerating a little bit, but it kind of is the stuff of legend. He is right now, to this point, the first 2 months of the season, Robert Suarez, hold your seats or your seat belts. Robert Suarez is a league-winning player. He's got 2 victories. He's 16 for 16 in saves. This has just been remarkable. And, we can pick apart this and pick apart that, but the bottom line is he's getting it done. He's got a 5-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. We can talk about his left on base rate and his batting average of balls in play, which are stupid. His left on base percentage is 100%, right? It's stupid. We can talk about the fact that he's got a 54% fly ball rate, and he's only allowing 0.7 home runs per 9. At some point, home runs are going to bite him. At some point, the fact that he's not a big bat misser is going to bite him. The batting average of balls in play is going to even out. The left on base percentage is going to go down. All these things are going to happen. And it doesn't matter if he's racking up 39 saves, right? So he's established himself as the closer of the Padres. I think barring an injury, he has a couple of horrible outings. They probably still leave him in the 9th inning. I think that he is just been fantastic. And when we talk about the Padres bullpen, I know a lot of people are Jeremiah Estrada. All of a sudden, everyone's asking questions about Jeremiah Estrada. Jeremiah Estrada has been terrific. Jeremiah Estrada's got a good fastball slider combination. He throws a changeup. It's okay. He's been electric. He's got a 46% strikeout rate. I mean, that's, Edwin Diaz, Mason Miller level stuff. Like, it's been terrific. Is it going to be that good? No. Is he going to miss a batter an inning? Yeah, he's going to do that for sure, right? He's going to have 10, 11, 12 maybe strikeouts per nine. Not going to have 15. Like, that's asking too much. He also has 100% left on base percentage. He also has 160 batting average on balls in play. He also has a 54% fly ball rate. Like, there's signs of concern all over the place here with him. There's also the fact that, he's got a 46% hard hit rate and 90 mile an hour exit velocity. That's pretty high stuff for a guy rocking the 0.6 ERA and 25 strikeouts in 15 innings. So Estrada is certainly worth an addition. I wouldn't pick him up expecting saves because, again, Suarez is the guy. But it's possible that if Suarez were to blow his arm out tomorrow, that Estrada would be the guy that takes over. That is definitely within the realm here. So a big strikeout arm, I kind of comp him to Fernando Cruz of the Reds. I think that's a fair comp. And Estrada's pitching very, very, very well at the moment. Austin Riley's finally back in action as we turn over to the injury side of things. He missed 13 straight games. The Braves blew this. They had a 10-day injured list. They obviously didn't use that. They thought he'd be back before the 10 days. Didn't happen. They played a man down for 13 games, which is just astounding to me that they just let this go and let this go. Finally returned on Monday. There it is. They needed him back, obviously. That's a huge injection of talent when you lose Ronald Acuna. He hit second with Ozzie Albies batting leadoff, so I assume that's the way that's going to go moving forward. We'll monitor him as he comes back from that side issue, Austin Riley, but the expectation is at this point they took their time with him, that he shouldn't have any setbacks and he should be okay. Tyler O'Neill, who started out fantastically, started to slow. Knee's an issue now. He's commented on the fact that his knee he's a little concerned about it, that maybe it's impacting his mechanics a little bit. Since he ran into Rafael Devers and hurt his head and had the stitches and everything, sitting 200. 40% strikeout rate. A lot of people were doing victory laps with Tyler O'Neill at the start of the season. What a mistake. Not that Tyler O'Neill isn't, a very good baseball player. He is. But there's such an extensive track record of him being unavailable to play that I was very surprised by so many people. Oh, it's breakout season. Oh, it's Tyler O'Neill. Whoa, because of 3 weeks. Well, here we are, and his knee is barking. There's concern that this might eventually require an IL stint. O'Neill is still posted a very solid 843 OPS, but the strikeout rate is up to 34% overall. The batting average is down to 336. Those are not good numbers. He's only stolen 1 base, and with his knee barking, that guy that stole 15 bases, 14 bases in 2 seasons, we're not seeing that guy, at least in the short term. He's on pace for 4 steals this year. Hope he gets healthy, but again, that's just been really hard for him to stay healthy. Good player. Just really hard to stay healthy. LaMonte Wade, someone we've talked about and really started to discuss directly over the last week. For those people that didn't see it, he made a great scoop on a throw by Matt Chapman in the extra innings when the Giants beat the Mets. They beat him 3 games in a row, those comebacks. Made a great scoop high in the air, strained his leg a little bit. Then he missed a couple of games to make sure he was okay. Then he came back yesterday and he was sliding into second base on a double, tweaked his leg. It didn't look great. The hamstring obviously is an issue. He had to get help off the field. I haven't seen it yet this morning, but Bob Melvin, the manager, said he fully expected an IL stint with LaMonte Wade. So the guy that's getting on base and leading baseball doing that is certainly going to miss some time. We'll hopefully get some updates as to what the Giants decide to do in terms of a prognostication with his return. Is it going to be 2 weeks? Is it going to be a month? We have no clue on that at the moment, but he is almost certain. He's certain to end up on the injured list. What will the team do? I mean, will they just move Wilmer Flores to first base? Very, very possible they do that. I think this is obviously good news for both Heliot Ramos and Luis Matos because it opens up an opportunity for potentially both of them to stick around now. When Michael Conforto's back from his hamstring injury, one of those 2 guys go, it's probably Heliot Ramos. Maybe they keep him around as bench depth at this point. I don't know. But the Giants are in that kind of limbo. They've got Matos, what they need to find out about. They've got Ramos they need to find out about. They've got Brett Wisely, who has he taken over from Luciano at shortstop? Like Luciano, they got to find out. He's only 22, 3 years old. They got to find out if he's, is he part of our future or not? Brett Wisely's beating him out. They got a lot of these young guys. They got a lot of, mix and match kind of guys do the Giants, and they're trying to mix and match their way to it. They're a game over 500. They're not going to catch the Dodgers, obviously, but they could make the playoffs. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Giants do come the trade deadline, all those kind of things. But right now, Wade is down, and that's a significant loss for the Giants. Jorge Polanco is going on the injured list with a strained hamstring. Polanco just hasn't got it done. Extremely disappointing season with the Mariners here. Extremely disappointing. They just got back J.P. Crawford. Now Polanco is down. We talked yesterday, I believe, about Dylan Moore, and I was like, it's going to be hard. Now Dylan Moore gets another reprieve because now we got Polanco down. And it's sometimes this happens, right? Where you think a guy, it's like, and I mentioned this yesterday. I've always thought that Dylan Moore, if everything came together and he got 550 plate appearances, which he's never come close to, he could hit 18, 20 home runs, steal 28, 30 bases. He could do it. He might hit 212, right? He's very much a hit or miss kind of guy, but he's finding ways to play all over the place. He qualifies at multiple positions, which is a huge benefit. And this injury to Polanco just keeps him in the lineup. Now, the Mariners did call up Ryan Bliss. And if you look at Ryan Bliss, his last 97 games at AAA, he's stolen 48 bases. So I know maybe some of you even ran to the waiver wire and added him. Bliss will play. How much is the Moore play second base? Do they continue to move more around? Well, that's in play, but Bliss will play. However, even though he's got those 48 steals in less than 100 games, Bliss does not have elite speed. He's probably 55-ish on the 2080 scale. He's a good base runner, smart base runner. He's quick and all those kind of things, but he's not a blazer. Still can steal bases with that skill set, but he's not a guy that's going to come up to the big leagues and steal 50 bases. He's not a power hitter. He's more a gap-to-gap line drive kind of guy. He really profiles as more of a utility player. He kind of profiles with different pieces, but he kind of profiles like Dylan Moore, to be honest. Again, different skill set, but the same kind of thing. Like I can do a little bit here. I can do a little bit there. I'm going to may have a long career. It's never going to be something where I'm getting 550 plate appearances. So I would caution anyone to run out to grab Bliss and think they've figured it out. AL only leagues, give it a shot. Mixed leagues, you can put them on a watch list, but this is, I think, more about Dylan Moore staying in the lineup, and take back everything I said yesterday because Jorge Polanco got hurt. Stephen Kwan, who we talked about earlier, he's going to start his actual game action today. He's looking to play 6 to 8 innings. If you're going to play 6 to 8 innings in the field, I don't know why you just don't play the whole game, but okay. They're thinking maybe a start or two. So it's very possible by Friday he's back out there for the Guardians. So keep an eye on that. He was off to a tremendous start. His hamstring is the issue now. So we need to know he can run and do the things that make him Stephen Kwan. But his early returns this year were very, very good. He was off to an excellent start for the Guardians. We talked about Cristian Javier yesterday, just to kind of a return to it and a little, let's fill in the blank with him. We don't still know exactly how much time he's going to miss the forearm issue. The Astros are saying they don't believe it to be major. Okay. He's been placed on the injured list, so he's missing 15 games and all that kind of stuff. Hunter Brown, Justin Verlander, Spencer Arrighetti are starting today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Then it's, I don't know. So that's kind of how they're going to run things now. Maybe Eric Lauer soaks up some innings. The Astros just can't get healthy on the hill. And we talked about it yesterday. The Astros and the Rangers both, they just can't keep their pitchers healthy, get them or keep them healthy. But Javier now is on that injured list again. We don't know how much time he's going to miss. And someone asked me in Discord yesterday what my thoughts are. And I basically said, look, if you have aisle space, store them. If you don't, you got 3 aisle spots, 4 aisle spots, they're full. Javier's just not a hold anymore. He's just not. He's just not the pitcher he was 2 years ago. And now we have another physical setback with him. You can move on from him unless you have the luxury of holding on to him. If you have no aisle spots, easy to let go Cristian Javier at this point. Gavin Williams, the final guy to talk about on the hill. Manager of the Guardians, Stephen Vogt, said that Gavin Williams, coming back from the elbow issue, is expected to make a start on Wednesday down at Columbus. This is obviously good news. He had the arm issue, and we were super concerned with the elbow at the start. Then they said it wasn't a big deal, and we kind of relieved ourselves of, well, he's not going to need Tommy John surgery, all of that. Then he had setback, and it's like, then he had some elbow discomfort again. Like, it's been a bumpy road to get here. So while it's great to hear that Wednesday he's going to get back out on the hill in a game, I don't know what that means at this point. I don't think, to be fair, the Guardians can tell us that everything's fine. I don't know if they know, right? Like he's had multiple pauses, whether they're setbacks or not. He's had multiple pauses in his recovery. We'll see. If he goes out there and he's throwing 94 or 5, he's got good movement, he's using his pitches. Okay, then we can start to get excited about Gavin Williams again, because if healthy, or when healthy, he is a high-end prospect who pitched very effectively in the second half last year. Could be that guy in the second half this year. But even if he goes out and pitches well on Wednesday, it's been so long since we've seen him. Like, we're talking, an absolute best case scenario with him is probably mid-June. At best case scenario. They're going to have to build him back up at maybe late June before he's even available in the big league level. So if you have the IL spot and you can add him now and you want to do that, and you can put guys on the injured list, and okay, right? But we still got a ways to go before I'd feel good about making a move like that. Let's look at some of the news and notes if anything's popped here in the last couple of minutes before I head over to check out your comments. Spencer Schwellenbach is being called up by the Braves, and this is fascinating. I've joked around a lot about this with Phil Backert. The Atlanta Braves have a plan with their pitching staff. And right now it's working, especially because Chris Sale's been healthy and dominant. But their plan is just to roll through guys at the back end of the rotation. So he's going to start, Schwellenbach is going to start Wednesday against the Nationals. Very good place to start for him, obviously. There's questions about depth, first time out there, the whole thing. Not a bad streaming option if you want to get super aggressive. But look at this. Look at how they're doing this. And let's, let me pull their team up so we can actually get the actual data. But they have done this, and they're doing it quite effectively using their entire 40-man roster, right? And you can do that. There's no rules against this. Teams, everyone's free to do this, but this is how they're doing it. Because you look at people that have made starts this year. You've got 10 starts for Morton, Sale, and Fried, 9 for Ronaldo Lopez. So they have 4 pitchers they're leaning on. The next guy is Bryce Elder with 5 starts, and he has pitched poorly. Then it's Darius Vines with 2. Spencer Strider made 2, so we'll throw him out. Obviously, he's gone now, so that's why they're having to do what they're doing. But think about this. We have 4 guys making 9 starts. We have a 5th guy making 5 starts, this is very reminiscent of what a team used to do in the old days, right? 2 starts for Vines. This is something the teams did not do in the old days. 2 starts for Vines, 1 start for Wyans, 1 start for Kerr, 1 start for AJ Smith-Shawver, who got hurt. They're just rolling through these youngsters. And they're bringing them up, and someone gets hurt, they bring them back, or they're bringing them up and putting them down for 2 weeks. And they're doing everything the legal like. But that's 10 guys that have made starts, and we're a third of the way through the season. That's a lot. That is a lot. And it's fascinating. We're going to add an 11th guy here on Wednesday, right? With Schwellenbach, excuse me. We'll see if he sticks around. The other guys have not stuck around at all. In 8 starts, Schwellenbach, has got an ERA of 1.8, huge strikeout totals. Like, he's pitched extremely well. We'll see if he can continue that with the Braves, and we'll see then what it means. I still think that at some point the Braves make a trade, because while you can roll through all these youngsters, like, don't you really want somebody? And even if it's a Kyle Gibson type of guy, right? You just want somebody, like, even if it's just a veteran you can turn to, because, as great as Sale has pitched, can they count on innings from him? As great as Lopez has done, how does that go long term? They need another arm, and I'm sure they'll make a move to get it. But yeah, just fascinating what the Braves are doing. Diamondbacks released Colton Wong. His career just, went bye-bye pretty quick. Those are kind of the only notes that I'm seeing here for anything new since we started talking. Let's look at some comments here. Patio Joe, you can find Patio Joe's article right now on umpires, and he would know the umpires because that's what he does. He studies for us, writes the articles, really great stuff. Check that out. It's like that cherry on top of the sundae when you're putting together your lineup each day. His comments on Angelo, very true. Best compliment official can get is no one knows that you were there. Patio Joe also umpires himself, so he knows what he's talking about. Yeah, just do your job, get the hell out of there, right? I don't want to know the umpires' names. I don't want to know your face. I don't want to see you mugging on the camera and doing the dance like Drebin or whatever his name was and Naked Gun. Was that his name? Frank Drebin? Is that the right? Oh, that is the game. So let's see. Frank Drebin. Hey, all right. I got a cultural prop reference. I can't even say it, right? I got so excited. But yeah, pop culture reference. That's what I meant to say. Chaka says, it was me talking about furball. I grabbed Bader instead. Yeah, I think that was the better move based upon what we discussed, Chaka. I've been sitting on Senga on the IL, not loving all these setbacks. You drop him for a just drop Merrill Kelly. These questions need to be asked. The answers to them are Senga is not right. And we will get a full accounting when this is all done. Maybe it's at the end of the season in the offseason or something like that. But we've talked about this all the way through. We talked about the doctor's reports I saw when the injury happened. We talked about the potential setbacks. I think we've been 100% right on what this could become. And unfortunately, it's become that. But we mentioned directly here on the show last week that, Senga was changing up his mechanics. And the Mets were like, that's cool. This is what he just needs to do this to figure things out. You don't change your mechanics. That's the whole problem. Anytime a pitcher changes mechanics is when they get nervous. It's why when the pitcher tweaks his ankle and it's not that bad, they put him on the injured list anyway because they don't want him tweaking his mechanics. So that was a clear sign that this was going horribly wrong. There has been no significant setback with Senga. There's been no blowout situation with Senga. That's not expected from this injury. As we discussed when it first happened, this is not an injury that should require surgery. It's an injury that you need to work through. And they have not found the secret sauce to do that. I don't know when Senga is going to be back. So is he a good hold right now? I don't think he is. I mean, would I hold him if I had the space? Yes. But at the same time, am I holding out any great hope of some dramatic return in the second half, given everything we've seen? I don't think the answer to that is yes. In the case of Merrill Kelly, we got an update a couple of days ago on his shoulder. According to Torey Lodolo, the MRI showed significant healing, which is good news. Shoulders are messy, as we've seen with Senga. I think at this point, I'd lean Kelly, but I will fully admit, Chaka, I'm guessing. I'm just guessing. Like when a guy has surgery, I mean, we've seen this all the time. You guys, Tommy John surgery, he'll be back in 10 to 12 months. And what did it take Walker Buehler, 21? If it was my team, I'd take a shot at Merrill Kelly. I don't know if that's the right call, but that's how I would play it if it was my team. Dave P says, morning to you as well. Mario, always around. Mario, morning. And Angelo said, yo, earlier on. So thanks for the comments, everybody. I got to go apologize to Jeff Mans for running the stream on his account. So sorry, Jeff. Wasn't trying to make a statement there. It just happened. I want to thank everyone for watching, listening today, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, whether you're going to then obviously listen to this on demand on your podcast network or over at fantasyguru.com and the Elite Plus network. Thanks for all of that. The Elite Sports Show from 3 to 6 Eastern, Monday through Friday. Jeff Mans. Check that out today in a couple of hours. Justin Fensterman and I will be on the Elite Sports Game Time Show. That's tonight from 8 to 10 Eastern. Go check out my Rays ramblings over at fantasyguru.com. It's posted right now. Answering questions in Discord about football and baseball every day. We'll have the cash game breakdown up for baseball here in a couple hours for today's slate. The bet should be out later as well for the evening action for Major League Baseball. What else am I forgetting? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're going to the football. As I talked about earlier, Armando Marsal will be in with us tomorrow. Thursdays will be Tyler Beaker. Russell Clay will be Fridays. All those visits set to occur about 30 minutes into the show, roughly 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Moving forward, talking football on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. I'm Ray Flowers. Have a great day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.